By the way, this is me standing outside my house with my wonderful new selfie. Oh God. Making a video of how we're going to together change the world. Well, you have to start somewhere, so why not start here? There you go. That is the full panoramic view of where I live. So if somebody actually says, oh, he's not working from an office, he's working from home. Well, I'm showing you right now that I am working from my home. And there's nothing wrong with it. I love it. It's the best way to work from your home. And now more and more people are actually finding out that they have got no choice but to work from home. So if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander, and it's good for me. Signing off. Bye. When I started my 90-day video journey, I really didn't know what was getting into. All I knew was that I had to do something with my life. At the age of 66, having retired, started collecting my pension. It was not a good feeling, having wasted all of my life, not really doing anything useful. Yes, I've had success, I can't deny that. It was not easy. My formal education, getting a HND in electronic engineering, yes, it may seem that it's not really a degree, but I can assure you they want blood. And then becoming so good at it because I loved it. It was my life. I used to read electronic books all the time. I used to live it. Even when I was doing my A-levels, I was making a quad amplifier with 4 speakers. And so when I went into industry, I run rings around people who are far, far more qualified than I was. And I achieved quite a lot with that education. I had a 4-bedroom house that had a bylaw that I could turn it into a doctor's surgery. I had loads of space, car parking space, detached garage. It was the ideal life, and that was on the back of me being an electronic engineer. And then I said, well, this isn't enough, I want to do more. So I enrolled with the Open University. It took me 8 years while I was gallivanting all around the world, earning money, looking after my family, making sure my 2 kids went to private school, making sure I had enough money. Went all around the world, designed the first e-bank. And then during 8 years, while I was gallivanting around the world, I had a wonderful time as a software engineer. The last project I worked with was one with BT. I did one project with BT. It was 4.5 years. And then I did one project with Ember where we designed an internet bank. They were taking 3 or 4 years and they were getting it badly wrong, but we did it in 6 months and it was received so well. And then I changed my career due to a series of mishaps, I suppose. Destiny takes you where it takes you. Why I changed course so drastically, I do not know. Maybe all of the emotional turmoil I suffered at the hands of BT was my turning point, where I abandoned my lucrative career in IT and I started what I'm doing now 20 years ago. It was a big, big decision, and at the time it seemed like an awful thing to do. And so 20 years later, I'm at the top of my game and I absolutely hated it. I felt that kind of wasted all of my life doing this rubbish when I could have made so much money and I could have done so much more in IT. If I'd stuck to IT, I would have been so much better. But you don't really know what Providence holds for you. Anyway, 20 years, we started to develop products vertically, starting off with humble things such as dealing with simple addictions like cigarettes and weight loss, and we did a little bit or using Timeline, and we dealt with phobias and emotional problems. But as we went along, we got better at it. or shall I say, I got better at it, because then I evolved to dealing with cannabis addiction. That worked out really well. Alcohol addiction. As long as somebody wasn't chronically addicted, that worked out really well. And then cocaine addiction. In fact, the first person who came to see me, I wasn't very happy taking a cocaine addict. But all of his friends reassured me that he wasn't going to nick all of my stuff. So I saw him and it worked really well. Then I saw somebody for crack cocaine and I was amazed that worked out really well. And then we did everything in between, such as MCAT and stuff like that. And then I said to my wife, let's see if we can use this with gambling addiction, because the principles are the same and it worked so well with gambling addiction. And then we did this for heroin, and we couldn't believe the success we had with heroin, as long as a person was on a substitute such as methadone. And then we said, all right, well, we can't deal with methadone until, of course, we stumbled upon a methodology that's being used all around the world. It's not used in Europe or America, but it's used all around the world, and that is used with cancer clients. So what you do is you do this IV therapy. They only need 10% of chemotherapy, and they go through no withdrawal symptoms, and they're living for 10, 20, 30 years, whereas normal chemotherapy patients die after 5 years. This is also being used to make antibiotics more potent, and also to deal with withdrawal symptoms and of drugs, and also for getting people off antidepressants. And it's also very, very good, we found later on, at getting rid of the inflammation in the brain and heavy metal toxicity. So anyway, a year ago, about the same time as the lockdown started, I had a big trauma, big trauma. And I kind of lost the plot completely. I think it was all of that stuff from BT, together with new stuff that came along. I had an event. Usually depression comes from some kind of a traumatic event, and I had a very, very traumatic event where all of my inadequacies came right in front of my face, and I saw them real up and close, and it's the first time I actually really understood depression. I was so depressed. Lockdown didn't help. I became suicidal. I started having thoughts of ending my life. I imagined that in the morning I would be dangling from a gate outside my house. I had no peace. I couldn't sleep at night. I kept having terrible nightmares, one after the other. I had no peace even when I was awake. I hated going to sleep. I hated waking up. I couldn't live in the moment. When my grandchildren were playing computer games, I was eating my heart out. And only a couple of months ago, I told my daughter, I said, I wish I was never born. And she said to me, Dad, what a terrible thing to say, because if you weren't born, then we wouldn't have existed. And this was just a few months ago. And then during Christmas, I had another trauma. It's like I'm designed for this, and I really hurt my legs. I became a cripple, so I went from being able to walk, go up ladders, help my daughter decorate her house. I did that just before this accident. But this trauma left me walking on all fours, so I was going up and down the stairs, hands and feet together. I thought I would never, ever get better. And then I didn't like the idea that I've now become a cripple, a physical cripple plus a mental cripple, and really the NHS and the orthodox medicine had no answers for me. I didn't relish the idea that I would end up with antidepressants for the rest of my life or to have to take sleeping pills. I learned FSM. I had to do a quick crash course on FSM because there was one methodology in that called the vagus and concussion protocol. And it's not only used with people who get, banged over the head with a baseball bat, but it's used for anybody that's suffering any kind of trauma. And if you think about it, most of my clients are suffering some kind of a trauma, because even things like addictions are actually a trauma. Being depressed, taking antidepressants is a trauma. And it's supposed to be the first thing that you use before you do any therapy. Learning functional medicines, started implementing that. Then I started using my knowledge in hypnotherapy, started using that to get myself better. And then I started using FSM, which basically passes 2 electrical currents through the body. There is resonance taking place inside your body because of this crossing of electricity from 4 different corners of your body. This taps into your nervous system, goes to your brain and gets rid of the inflammation. And then on top of that, I used IVD-MSO, which is, like I said, was discovered for cancer so that people can live a long life without suffering the after effects of chemotherapy. So I started using all of these modalities on myself, and I couldn't believe the difference. At first it seemed that it wasn't working, but as time went along and I used it on a regular basis, I went from being suicidal to like, wow, I'm alive. And I can see in black and white the truth, and the truth is so profound that it reminds me of a story in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where somebody started talking the truth. It's frowned upon by authority these days and the titans of industry, but this guy started to tell the truth, and he went on, and the things he came up with were mind-blowing. And eventually the governments of the universe decided that they didn't really want to hear that or wanted anybody else to hear it. So the whole of the deliberations were buried in 1,000 foot of concrete. And that's exactly what the authorities want to do now. They do not want anybody to speak the truth because it doesn't serve them. But anyway, I went from being suicidal to like, wow, I'm alive again. And I can assure you right now that the Shaukat of the old Shaukat of the last 20 years is well and truly dead. In fact, I don't even recognize myself anymore. Who the hell is this guy sitting in front of this camera talking to? Who is he talking to? And I was outside in my garden today, and I was looking at the fence panels, and it seemed like this was a new house. Like this was like, oh my God, I've been given a second chance. I looked at my house. It was like, wow, I can actually feel I'm alive and I have zero anxiety. Z-E-R-O anxiety. None, neither, neff, absolutely none. And I thought that was just me, that I've gone from being suicidal to having absolutely no anxiety whatsoever. But I found out very quickly that I'd done the same kind of therapy with 4 other people, 4 of my clients. And if you look at their pictures before and after, they are totally unrecognizable. I have Tracy, and I will post her before and after pictures, and Sarita, and you can see her before and after. And they all tell me they feel exactly the same as me. All of the people I've treated recently for alcohol, for cocaine, for antidepressants, people who were on a really large doses of antidepressants, tell me that they've just been reinvented. It's like, it's not the old them anymore. They are now anxiety free. Before, if I ever had a challenge, such as I had some paperwork to do, or I needed to clear up the emails or my website needed updating, I would just leave it as if it would get done by itself. And so you leave it for a day, you leave it for a week, you leave it for a month, you leave it for a year, and before you know it, you left it for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Before you know it, you left it for like 20 years. And then life hasn't actually moved forward one little inch. So you become afraid of your shadows. When my brain was dysregulated, I hated everything. I hated the cold, I hated the warmth, I hated the sunshine, I hated the darkness. Sometimes I would go into my room and it would bother me. I would have to turn all of the lights on. When my brain was so dysregulated, life was not fun at all. And I have gone from that state to where I have no anxiety whatsoever. I'm looking forward to the future. The scope of what I'm doing has increased enormously. The depth of what I'm doing has increased enormously. And the fact that, I've been waiting for a probate, and I've been waiting, but it doesn't seem to bother me now, because Providence always seems to provide the money when I need it. So whenever there's a problem, Providence just opens up its doors. You see, the universe is infinite. The universe has everything that we could possibly want, need, or imagine. The only thing that actually limits what the universe can give us is our imagination. If you can open your imagination from scarcity to abundance, then you can achieve anything. And years ago, they talked about The Secret, and The Secret was all about imagining a compelling future and imagining it with feelings. You have to have feelings before you can imagine it. Otherwise, it doesn't manifest in your life. Well, when you're just trying to get through the day, how could you actually feel anything? All you feel is shit. You feel like crap. Okay, every moment is like you're trapped in this body and you just want to get out and you just want to die. Like my next door neighbor used to come over. Yes, I forgot about Brian. He was another one who wanted to die, and he used to come and pray he wanted to die. Look at him now. It's the difference between light and day. Inadvertently, the last 20 years haven't been wasted. I've realized that now, because what's happened is that we've discovered something enormous, absolutely enormous, which is that we can now achieve the same results the Church of Scientology, all clear, takes years and years to achieve, and it costs about £500,000, and we can do it for stupid sums of money. So if we were charging, say, £3,000 to help every individual on this planet Earth to self-actualize, to live the life of their dreams, to create a compelling future but without the hang-ups, so that they can actually feel good. They can not only see a compelling future, but they can actually feel good about it, as if they're actually living it now. Don't you think this is worth anything to people? If we were to charge £3,000, do you think people in this world will buy it? What if you charge £30,000? Would people buy it? What if we charge £300,000, like the Church of Scientology? Would people buy it? Well, they seem to be buying it from the Church of Scientology. Even Thomas Cruise is buying it from them. So of course they would buy it. Okay, something as valuable as changing your life forever, getting rid of your hang-ups, where you are looking forward to every day. I can't wait to go to bed now. I can't wait to get up in the morning. And one of the realizations that I had since yesterday is that when I waste my time, when I'm kind of lur-pitting, when I'm going and enjoying myself to the cinema, eating, walking, I curse myself when I come home because I haven't done my work. And so the whole thing has changed in the opposite direction now. If I don't work now, if I don't do my work, I feel really bad about it. The anxiety, by the way, is gone. I just do not feel anxious. It's gone. I can think back to BT, the days of the BT, and there's no anxiety. I can think back to when I wanted to commit suicide. There's no anxiety. It's gone. Now, who in the world doesn't want a program like this where they are ready to commit suicide because of a girl, and they won't. They are ready to commit suicide because of bad marks, and they won't. They take every adversity that comes their way with a great big smile on their face. They can manage with children. They can manage with dysfunctional partners. So imagine a partner that actually just is overbearing, is always whinge, and when they finish that, you smile and you say, okay, now wouldn't that be great? Okay, no more getting obsessed with the relationships, becoming too heady with the relationships. Everybody like a program like that. So what we have actually done without even realizing it, we actually achieved something amazing. It's like a deity. Oh my God, what have we just created? It's like going to the military and the sergeant actually blows wind in your face, okay? And some people actually faint, some people pee in their pants, but that's to increase the fuse inside here so you become a fighting monster, so that when the bombs are going off near you, then you don't say, help, mommy. I'm just saying that if you don't have any feelings and if you don't have any compassion, it's not the ideal thing. The ideal thing, if the military wants to do it, I'll teach them, is to do what we've just done, which is that you create incredibly strong people, but you do it without the anxiety. So if the bombs are going off, you're not going to have any anxiety. You just deal with it. But you still remain a compassionate person. So when your colleague gets hurt, rather than running to save your hide, you just go and try to save your colleague. You don't have to become a nasty person to become strong. Compassion has to be part and parcel of what we're doing. And so can you imagine if we created a race of superhumans, like I'm talking about, all around the world? Would this race of humans actually buy into the bullshit of the mainstream media? Would he listen to the news? No. When really rotten guidelines come down from the top, like the food pyramid, high carb, low fat diets, you will just throw them out of the window. You'll say, this is the biggest load of B I have ever seen. And when they say that oil is good for you, that you shouldn't actually cook in lard, what do? You go and cook in lard, because when they used to do that, or in butter, or in coconut butter, because when they used to do that, there were hardly any heart disease. And now that they actually changed this to high carb, low fat diet, every other person is having a heart disease. In fact, they've totally and utterly messed up the medical system by doing what they're doing. So when they actually turn around and say, well, you got to take statins because it'll keep you safe, what do you say to them? You say, I'll put them in a great big newspaper, wrap them into a ball, because there has to be some weight behind this, otherwise this trick doesn't work, and I'll throw them in the nearest gutter. I like to throw it on your head, but then you'll sue me, so I'd rather just shove it in the gutter. And when they actually try and give you all these medicines for high blood pressure, what do? You say, no, thank you. High blood pressure comes from an unhealthy lifestyle. I'm going to change my lifestyle. So do you think that the superhumans that we're going to create are going to actually allow junk into their mouths? No, they're not. They're going to eat fruits and vegetables, seeds and nuts. They're going to eat lots of oily fish, small fish. And they will eat coconut butter and butter by the bucket loads. They'll put it into their tea and coffee. They will drink kefir every day. So they increase their biodiversity in their gut, the third brain. And they will actually bee pollen on a regular basis. And they will go much further. Things you don't tell them. They will take ionic iodine on a regular basis, so they got enough iodine in their body. They will eat medical mushrooms, such as Starkey mushrooms, to improve their immune systems, or take the extract of Starkey mushrooms. They will not buy into your bullshit. And when you say you need a bypass surgery, then they will have already learned that if you go to an all raw or all vegetable diet, then your body has the capacity to create, there is redundancy inside your body to create a bypass for you. God didn't create you with all of these facilities. You know, you don't need medication, okay, and you don't need angioplasty. You have the resources. And if you go to just a raw vegetable juice for long enough, your arteries and veins, which are clogged up, will just completely clean up. So will you take antidepressants when you're depressed? No. They haven't helped anybody. They double the suicide rates. They take 8 weeks to kick in, and a lot of people can't even tolerate them over those 8 weeks. They stop the healing process. You're trying to complete your journey, but you park your car by the lay-by and you stay there forever. That's not progress. They double the suicide rate, both in adults and adolescents. In fact, when you make a 911 call in America and say, I've just killed my wife, they say, were you taking antidepressants? In fact, half of the people involved in mass shootings were on antidepressants. These mental health clinics scattered all over the place are artificially created by keeping people on antidepressants. The biggest fraud of all times has to be the way they deal with cancer. There was a video on Amazon about a year ago, and it was, cancer can be killed in 30 days. It was so profound, the idea that cancer can be killed in 30 days, that it had to be removed. And in there, if you see, there were clinics all around the world, and some were actually promising that if you take that therapy, they guarantee that your tumor will shrink by 60%. I mean, that's profound. And they were talking about using heat to treat cancer, infrared heat. In fact, hypothermia is known to be incredibly effective against tumors. They were talking about using ozone to treat cancer. They were talking about using high-intensity PEMF to treat cancer. In fact, one of the machines I want to get when I complete my functional medicine course is actually an individual sauna. You get into the sauna and instantly it heats your body up. And you have water going into it that's superheated to take your body temperature very high very, very quickly. This is the key. And then they have a oxygen concentrator, and they take a pipe from the oxygen concentrator onto your face, so you breathe pure oxygen, very, very highly concentrated oxygen. And then it goes into ozone converter that creates ozone, and that goes into your body. You put a towel around your neck to stop breathing this in. In fact, we're going to probably have one of the best natural cancer treatment clinics outside Australia. Australia is just doing amazingly well, and so is Germany. In fact, if you ever want to get ill, then don't do it in this country. Get ill in Germany. Best place to get ill, because it's so far ahead of, the stuff that we're doing here. So I'll just round off by saying that a journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. And it doesn't take an army of people to change the world. It can actually take one individual, a forward thinker, just one individual, such as Robert Kennedy Jr., who's fighting for us, is fighting for our kids. And we don't even have the decency to support him with our money. So instead of giving this money to the cancer societies, and if you think about where does that money go? It goes to people like Pfizer. so that they can come up with another wonder drug that has a 2 or 3% success rate, so they can make millions from that. Well, instead of investing your money in cancer societies or health insurance, why not give that money to Kennedy's Health Defense? Because he's fighting for us. He's fighting for you and me. Don't you think we should support people like that? And to turn your back on some amazing person like him is not only ungodly, it's damn right irresponsible. If you back one person like Kennedy, it will take a momentum of its own, and these big sharks that have been leeching off our blood for years and years, they will not stand a chance. But if we don't support him now, do you want to get onto this vaccine treadmill forever? Do you want lockdown after lockdown after lockdown with people who don't even know what they're doing? They have no credibility with us anymore. We can't trust them anymore with our health and well-being. We certainly can't treat them with our bodies and our minds anymore. We know what a rotten system they've actually created for the last 100 years. And prior to that, doctors used to bleed people. They used to chop off their limbs. They used to feed people moss droppings. It's only when they discovered anesthesia that they can chop off your limb and you don't even feel anything, and then they developed their credibility. But prior to that, people hated them. They wanted to go to alternative and complementary therapists that looked after the whole of them, their mind, body, and soul, their spirituality, everything. They give them good advice. In fact, Henry VIII used to say, "Oh my God, here comes the vultures." He used to hate the doctors. And now we actually have raised them to the state of deities. We think that they are God's gift to mankind, not realizing that they're just like us, just like you and me. And they only know what they know, which is a corrupted education system. They can't know any more than that. Anyway, if you want to join our quest and you want to become self-actualizing, then join our program. It's a mentoring program. It's a 3-month program. It's a coaching program, because there is no other modality out there that is better than a coaching program. Because in a coaching program, you are coached. You're not coerced or pushed. You are coached to become better, to become self-actualizing, to perform at your very best. So instead of Church of Scientology giving you all clear after several years and costing you $500,000, you can join us. The program is absolutely peanuts when you compare what you're getting for your money. £3,000, 3 months, you become part of a team, and then you can remain part of that team forever, because you can actually subscribe to us, and all of the latest research that's outside the mainstream will be provided to you free of charge. You have access to all of the latest technologies, all of the information that the big tech and the big pharma have tried to bury is being preserved, I can assure you. There's people like me who've been working very hard and very diligently preserving this information, and it's wrapped in cotton wool. We wouldn't let any harm come to this technology because it's God's gift to mankind. Ayurvedic medicine, Chinese medicine, herbal medicine, FSM, hypnotherapy, bioresonance, energy medicine, information medicine. We have preserved all of these things, and we have wrapped them up in cotton wool for eternity for you to take advantage of. No, you don't have to buy into a corrupt medical system. You are free to choose. You don't have to buy into that disgraceful system. In fact, the most discredited profession on planet Earth is psychiatry. If you look at Citizens Commission for Human Rights, you can see exactly what they think of them. Citizens Commission for Human Rights is actually created by Church of Scientology. And when I try to tell them that they don't have to have the all clear, they could do what I'm doing and it's getting great results. Do you know what they did? Just like a doctor. I don't want to know. Got my head buried right in the sand, and that's where I intend to keep it. Well, they can be ignorant with themselves. I don't care. They can be ignorant with their families. I don't care. They can exhibit monumental ignorance with themselves. I don't care. What I do care about, and where they cannot be ignorant, is when it comes to my health and your health. Our health is much more important than their bullshit and their ignorance. We don't need their bullshit. So here we go, starting my journey of 1,000 miles. I've just taken my first step. Let's see what comes out at the other end, shall we? It'll be very interesting. So if I'm still a nobody in 3 months' time, okay, then you can chuck a great big brick at me. But I'm going to have a go. Okay, so watch this space.